Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year. Fantasy football fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for all your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From mock drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Siggy Guns never fail.
What's up, fantasy football fans? We are live drafting on our first mock draft, live mock draft. We're gonna get this straight sooner or later, but Siggy's already got the first pick. And who'd you pick, Siggy?
LeSean McCoy. I even on a regular, non-PPR league, it's really a toss-up between the three. You can go LeSean, Jamal Charles, Adrian Peterson. I just like the fact that in this offense, he's getting a lot of receiving yards also. So I trust him more than Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles, even though he hasn't really, I just don't trust him. I don't know what it is about Jamal Charles in the Kansas City, but so I trust LeSean McCoy more. But that's why I picked him first.
Yeah, and right now I have the 8th pick. So Siggy has the first pick. I have the 8th pick, and we're gonna see how this draft is gonna go. And we're gonna continue to do a lot more mock drafts. We're gonna do a 2.0, a 3.0. And we're doing 10-team draft because most of the leagues I've seen are 10 teams, not many 12-teamers, but we'll just stick to the standard drafts. And
so what are you looking for around the 8th spot? What are you thinking?
It depends on who's available. I mean, right now I see the wide receivers. Calvin Johnson's available. Calvin Johnson just got drafted, but Demaryius Thomas, Dez Bryant is left. The quarterbacks is Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. So right now, actually, I think I'll take a quarterback because you can't pass up on a Drew Brees in the 8th spot. I can still come back and get a wide receiver coming back forward or running back, depending on, But to take a first-tier quarterback like Peyton Manning or Drew Brees at this spot for me is good because those are the pretty much 2 or 3 first-round quarterbacks.
No, yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. I noticed right away Jimmy Graham got taken 9th, and that's usually where he's been going. He's been going anywhere between 7, 8, 9. Unheard of for tight end, but that's just, he's the tight end that's probably the best receiver in the league right now because Brees is going to be looking for him in the end zone.
Yeah, and a lot of the running backs are going by very fast, and just again, you see running backs going. So I'll stick to my wide receivers because Dez Bryant is available right now here at my pick. So I mean that's a quality wide receiver pick at that point. And right now it's now risk taking a running back at this point when you got a proven wide receiver. And right now the running backs are DeMarco Murray, Giovanni Bernard, who I do not believe is going to be like this fantasy stud like everybody thinks he's going to be this year, along with Andre Ellington. So I have a lot of picks that I see later on in the rounds that are good for halfbacks.
Yeah, I think we'll get the closer we get to the later rounds, we'll talk about the running backs, how deeper it's a lot deeper than people realize. I think.
Yeah.
I like Giovanni Bernard though because I once once his name is gone, Ben Jarvis Green Ellis
or Ben Jarvis Green Ellis too. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's gonna have a lot more touches. He did have a real good fantasy impact last season with split carries, and now you just figured it'd probably still be split carries, but he's going to have a bigger percentage, a lot more of the share, the lion's share, if you will. So I think he has the potential to be a Doug Martin, whenever he lit it up a couple of years ago. So I think he has that potential. I really do. And that offense, too. That offense moves. So my pick is coming up 3, and I noticed right away all the good quarterbacks are gone. I was hoping Aaron Rodgers would fall to me. I doubt that's going to happen. To me personally, my strategy has always been if I start off with the running back first in the first pick, I'll pick the best wide receiver available and the best QB available at that time because I don't want to risk, especially in a 10-man league, if I can get a Tom Brady now as opposed to a Tony Romo, I trust Brady more. So
yeah,
a lot of people don't like to reach that far up, but as a first pick, that's the problem with being the first pick is that you have to anticipate that all the top players are going to be gone. So you might as well grab the best you can at the spots that you need because I'd rather have the best QB that I could get at the time than the best or the 5th running back that I can get, or 8th. I guess Bernard is going to be there. I might have to be forced to take him, but Normally, I would just get the quarterback, but yeah, I mean, I have no choice but to draft Bernard right now. I can't believe he fell that far. I guess everybody's starting to feel like you in that spot.
Yeah, he's well, he's not available now. He's taken, but
Yeah, I just took him.
Oh, you took him?
Yeah, I took him. That's what I'm saying. He fell to me, and I'm gonna pick a receiver. Now I know Julius Jones and Jordy Nelson and all of them are ahead of this guy, but I'm telling you, we talked about it before. I think Antonio Brown is just gonna have a monster season. I think he's gonna be the only person that Ben Roethlisberger's going to really look, at, especially in the red zone. And then on top of that, even during the game, he's going to get 10 catches, and the guy could just move and fly. I just think he's going to have an even bigger season than he had last year. Oh, I mean, let's talk about that. Julio Jones and Jordy Nelson, both of them are ranked ahead of Antonio Brown. That was my choices between those three receivers. Both of those receivers are coming off injury. Antonio Brown is coming off of a career year, and he's still young.
Yeah,
I just trust him more.
I mean, did you see? Have you seen him in preseason already, showing that speed
Yeah,
off? That guy looks like. I mean, he's the real deal. I mean, he could just catch a ball off a screen pass and he's gone. He's running like it's a punt return.
Exactly. It's hard to believe that somebody that got 1,499 yards and 8 touchdowns can have a better season than that. But I just think that was just a little bit of microcosm of what he could really do, because he did most of all that in the last 8 games of the year, right? I mean, he wasn't anywhere near the top of the pile in the beginning of the season. In fact, the Steelers are just horrible in the first half of the year.
Yeah. And right here, I mean, I have Zach Stacy to choose from a few things, but I'm going to draft Alfred Morris because I like him. They're going to run the ball. Everybody knows that they're going to run the ball in Washington. Another thing to look at also as well when you're looking at running backs and you're looking at your receivers, always check your bye weeks. Make sure I know it's always good to draft the best players, but don't draft too many players that also are at the same time, they're guys that are gonna be like, you're gonna have like conflicts when you go to have your bench come in, or you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna end up having to trade or do something like that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Now I noticed on your pick, Alfred Morris, Zach Stacy, you passed up Arian Foster. Let's talk about Arian Foster. This is a guy that was #1 pick a couple years ago. A lot of people took him 3-4 last year.
Yep.
Is it just you think he's done? I mean, Ben Tate is gone. I mean, you would think if he is healthy, he will have the lion's share again.
I'm not a big fan. I love Arian Foster. The guy he's been a beast for years, but he's had some serious problems with his back. He's had some. I'm gonna pick Vernon Davis right here. I know Gronkowski's available. I know everybody's gonna pick him, but at the same time, it's those injury concerns for me. I just can't deal with picking a guy that is gonna end up getting hurt. And Vernon Davis is more of a player for me that's going to be, he's going to get a lot of catches. He's going to get a lot of throws his way. And I see him as having just as a good fantasy impact as Gronkowski. But Gronkowski he gets too hurt too often. He's hurt. He's hurt right now.
Yeah, and I guess that goes back to what I was asking about Aaron Foster. That's a high reward, but definitely a high risk, because you're banking on this guy. I mean, in the 3rd round, though, I might have taken him. I mean, that's a good flyer, because it's at that point, it's a toss-up between, a guy like Ben Tate, or like that's who wound up being picked right after him. Do you trust Ben Tate in that Cleveland offense, or an Arian Foster in the Houston offense?
Yeah. And remember, Houston's offense is not the same anymore. It's not the same zone blocking scheme that it was when Kubiak was there. So, I mean, I know Arian Foster can run, but the problem was he's been hurt he keeps getting hurt too much. And yes, he scores touchdowns when he is healthy, but can he stay healthy? That's the question.
Now it's my turn, and I have 2 receivers here that I'm shocked are available at this point. Andre Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald. Why are they falling so far, do you think? I'm going to go ahead and pick Andre Johnson first. And then I'm going to go ahead and I think I have no choice. I'm going to have to do Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, is it the injury concern here too, you think?
I'm not sure. I mean, I know that Andre Johnson. I know right now everybody thinks that nobody has, he has no quarterback, and given that it's like I believe it's what Fitzpatrick.
Which, I mean, you know what? Don't I wouldn't laugh about Ryan Fitzpatrick because
although he is a
there's one thing
gunslinger
he
mentality,
does, he's
yes,
a gunslinger.
and Stevie
Exactly,
Johnson
he's a
had
gunslinger.
1,000 yards with him like what 2 years in a row.
And Andre Johnson blows Stevie Johnson as far as talent goes. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a guy that potentially can have 115 receptions, and he always averages 100. And I think maybe the touchdowns won't be there like he would normally have, but his 1,500 yards, 100 receptions doesn't look like it's going to be a problem with Fitzpatrick.
Yep.
And what about Larry Fitzgerald? I picked them up also, both of them at the same time. These two wide receivers at one point were first-round wide receivers, second-round picks easily. Is Larry Fitzgerald? You think he's already in decline that fast? I doubt it. I wouldn't believe it.
I don't think that Larry Fitzgerald is in decline. I would have picked him at your spot as well. Michael Floyd, his opposite. I'm looking at Michael Floyd right now, but I'm not going to pick him over a starting wide receiver in Torrey Smith, who I'm about to draft right now, because I still need wide receivers. Wide receivers are finally being taken now. And Torrey Smith, I mean, you got a viable number one option right there, and you know he's going to get you 1,000 yards. How many touchdowns, we're not sure yet, but, I mean, he's going to get you 1,000 yards. He's going to get you a lot of points each game and out because they're always going to throw to him. And then in Gary Kubiak's offense, once again, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot.
So my quarterback that I really wanted, Tom Brady, just got taken 50th. I'm shocked that he's fallen that far, honestly. And even more shocked, another guy that's free falling in this draft is Doug Martin. I mean, he has not been picked yet. This is somebody that usually gets picked in around the 34th spot. What's up with him? What are you thinking?
I don't know. Doug Martin, that's just a weird thing that he's even falling that far because, I mean, I mean, my turn is next. If somebody doesn't pick him right now, I'm probably going to pick him. Him or Ryan Matthews. I actually like Ryan Matthews this year too. He's been able to remain healthy. He's been staying relatively healthy, and right now it's a toss up right now between Doug Martin and Ryan Matthews. And given the fact that Ryan Matthews catches the ball more, I'm actually going to pick Ryan Matthews over Doug Martin.
I can see that. I mean, this is a guy, though, Doug Martin, that just a couple years ago was the number 2-3 running back. He came out of nowhere. That was his rookie year, correct? Mm-hmm. And he just lit it up to where everybody picked him pretty much number one last year. He was that talented. Yeah. He got hurt. It was a shoulder injury, I think it was.
I'm not sure.
I mean, it wasn't an injury where I think that everybody should be scared of him. He's still the main back of Tampa Bay. That offense with Josh McCown, I think, is going to be even better. I'm shocked. If he falls to me, it's a no-brainer. I have to pick him.
Yeah, it looks like right now a lot of people are panicking and picking wide receivers.
Look, tight ends. I mean, Jason Witten just got ahead of Cameron. I mean, I know that the Cleveland quarterback situation isn't settled yet, but I figure that everybody should be throwing him. Wow, I cannot believe it. I'm going to be getting Doug Martin with the 60th pick.
Yeah,
and
it's
on
crazy.
top of that, I'll still have one of the best quarterbacks also in Andrew Luck. So my team right now, in my opinion, is looking pretty stacked.
I don't know who's your team yet because I can't really see it. Well, I can actually go to it right here. Draft results or teams actually. Oh, yeah, it doesn't let me see your draft results yet.
Well, we'll talk about it in a little bit. I'm really liking my team a lot, though. Obviously, it looks like the tight ends are going in a run right now. I don't know why. Usually, I after the top three, which is, obviously Graham, Gronkowski, and Vernon Davis, you have some, high-tier potential, but I wouldn't necessarily call them must picks like a Greg Olsen or Cameron, stuff like that. Look, defense is already taken right now. You think it's early? You think it's good? You think it's worth it?
I don't know. When you have two defense, oh, look at this. C.J. Spiller just actually dropped to me at this spot.
Yeah,
And I
I'm
mean, if
shocked.
you're
And
running a
Jennings.
flex, I mean, this is perfect opportunity right there. I got three decent running backs. I have Alfred Morris, Ryan Matthews, and now C.J. Spiller. They're all, I mean, these everybody's taking running backs early, and I still got these running backs late.
Yeah, and then who's still on there is Rashad Jennings, who with the Giants should have a really good season.
Yep.
You still have Bishop Sankey, the rookie running back for Tennessee, with nobody that's going to compete with him. Sean Green is the only competition he has, and the one thing I know about Sean Green being a Jets fan is that he's not going to stay healthy. So Bishop Sankey, I'm shocked he's falling this far also, especially whenever a lot of people were picking running backs at first.
Yeah.
I don't need another running back, though. I mean, my running backs, you just named off yours. Mine is LaShawn McCoy, Giovanni Bernard, and Doug Martin. I mean, those were 3 first-round picks, just normally.
Yeah.
And my receiving core is Antonio Brown, Andre Johnson, and Larry Fitzgerald. I'm shocked by that. Quarterback, Andrew Luck. I'm really liking my team a lot. I only need now tight end that's, maybe somewhat decent because apparently everybody just went on a tight end run. But there's still some names out there that I could probably grab. Zach Ertz, we talked about him. Dennis Pittum. I mean, I'm not gonna fret not having a really good tight end.
And right now I have options. I have Terrence Williams, which I have no clue why he's rated ahead of Mike Wallace, but Mike Wallace at this position right now with Ryan Tannehill thrown to him, I gotta pick him. And I'm still like, what round is this? The round 8. And I'm getting a receiver, a number 1 wide receiver, in Mike Wallace. Still, I'm still getting number 1 wideouts.
And just looking at some of the names left, I mean, still Bishop Sankey's still there. Trent Richardson is still there. A lot of people, they saw what happened with him last year, but I mean, now he's the man. I would think that in that offense, he has no choice but to be Trent Richardson as far as what his potential should be.
Yep.
Especially since they're going to give him the most opportunities. I mean, that's a steal.
Yep.
Because the one thing a lot of teams are going to are these dual back systems. He doesn't have to worry about that. And so that's an easy pick right there if he falls to me. Also, Chris Johnson is falling, and the Jets run the ball like crazy. And I just imagine that Chris Johnson is finally going to get the opportunity to run in the red zone. And that's the one thing a lot of fantasy owners always want to see. And he hasn't lost his speed. He's looked good in preseason so far, and he's going to be available in the 9th round.
Yep. And also look at the quarterbacks left. Tony Romo, Jay Cutler, Colin Kaepernick, Russell Wilson. These are guys that can score off runs and along with, rushing yards. Phillip Rivers, who was one of the last year's top quarterbacks for fantasy football, is still available at this point. And I mean, sometimes I look at these drafts and I see these quarterbacks still left. I'll take a guy like Phillip Rivers at this point because I'm going to let somebody. I don't want somebody to have to draft them later, and I can basically hold 2 good quarterbacks on my bench, or 2 good quarterbacks on any given day and use them for any time that I want to. And sometimes it's good to steal away players from other people too.
Now I was in the middle of talking, or we were in the middle of talking. I didn't get to pick my picks. It did pick Reed for me. I needed a tight end, but I probably would not have picked Reed at that spot. I did pick Sankey when I realized it was my turn. I would have picked Sankey, and I probably would have taken either Colston, Terrence Williams, or Chris Johnson, because if there's one thing I know in this league, that if you start hoarding some of these running backs that you think are going to be good, you can always trade for what you need later on.
Exactly.
So
that's another good thing about hoarding players, which is what I was just talking about. You get a good quarterback or a couple good quarterbacks. A lot of times people need quarterbacks so badly they'll trade anything for you so they can get their quarterback.
Yeah, and this is a prime spot, especially with a team like for me, for instance, I would have been starting to hoard some of these players. In fact, I probably would have taken a chance and taking Tony Romo right there, because if there's one thing Tony Romo can do, he might not be able to win the big game for the Dallas Cowboys in real life, but he's definitely a fantasy quarterback, and as long as his back is healthy, he's going to be putting up numbers, and he would attract, like we talked about, he would attract some players that you might need. Like I need a tight end, really. I could probably, make a Reed, Tony Romo combo for, whatever backup he has as a quarterback, and a good tight end, and he probably would do that trade.
Yep, and this is what I'm talking about. Right here, I'm going to draft Phillip Rivers. And then I'm going to come back, and usually there's probably going to be a good running back left over. And, I mean, right now I'm pretty stacked at running back. I got 3 solid ones, but I'm going to take a 4th one. And just like Siggy says, I'm going to hoard some running backs because this is at the point where, I mean, people are going to need good running backs later. And right now, I mean, Joique Bell is there. Shane Vereen, who catches a lot of balls for New England. Lamar Miller, who's the running back right now for Miami. Trent Richardson, who's obviously the starter in Indianapolis. Stephen Ridley, who's going to be the starter probably in New England, but probably not going to keep his job if he keeps fumbling. So he's a guy that you got to watch out for, you know, to not use too much. Maurice Jones-Drew, you know he's a touchdown maker. Carlos Hyde could be taking over for Frank Gore if he keeps running as hard as he's running, although Frank Gore is not really showing that much wear and tear yet, so we'll see what happens. Ray Rice, Steven Jackson are still left. I mean, we got some great running backs, and Chris Johnson was taken, so.
Yeah, he was just taken 89th. I mean, He's fallen 89th. I mean, that just shows you right there that a lot of people aren't going to be picking some of these. A lot of people use the rankings to heart, so they'll look at the players and just realize, oh, he's ranked that far down, he might fall to me. You know, I wouldn't call them reaches. I mean, I would have taken Chris Johnson, honestly, probably as my 3rd running back, you know, if I needed it at the time. But I was fortunate for Doug Martin to fall to me.
Yeah.
So, it's a good thing that we're picking 1, me, and you're picking 8th, because we get to see both extremes of it. You know how our strategies can be compared.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it looks like we're taking these guys to school. I mean, apparently, because they're leaving a lot of players. Look, there's a kicker run going on right now. I can't believe it. There's a kicker run in the 9th round.
And these guys are drafting because it doesn't say that any of them are, or maybe some of them
Auto picks.
It doesn't. I don't know if they're auto picks.
I'm not sure. Maybe some of them just stayed for a little bit and they starting to leave. Maybe that's why there's a kicker run right now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because usually there's not a. I mean, I don't know, because some people go nuts for kickers. You already know our strategy for kickers. We don't care about them, and I'm always drafting them last.
Well, and like I tell everybody that picks a good kicker like Gronkowski and all them, or not Gronkowski, whatever, the Kowski. The thing with kickers is, in the end of the season, he'll probably have 20 more points than the average kicker, the good ones. Mm-hmm. And if you break that down by 14 weeks, 13 weeks, you're only getting 1 point advantage. So in the end, it really wasn't worth it.
Yep. And there's still a lot of good receivers left, too.
I'm going to pick Trent Richardson. Fell to me that far, so I'm obviously going to pick him. And I'm going to go ahead and take the other quarterback right now, Tony Romo. So I have a good back. My backups are pretty much starters.
Exactly. And I mean, right now, Marcus Colts is still available. Kendall Wright is still available for Tennessee. Ruben Randall for the Giants. Brandon Cooks, who I think is going to be an electric wide receiver for the Saints. DeAndre Hopkins from Houston's another good receiver. Kelvin Benjamin, who pretty much is the #1 wide receiver for Carolina right now, being a rookie. I mean, you've already seen Cam Newton trying to throw him the ball a lot already, and there's not really any receivers in Carolina. So, I mean, this is Kelvin Benjamin who's basically just sitting there. Anquan Bolden sitting there for the 49ers. I mean, you got a lot of receivers still that you could put on your bench that are solid wide receivers.
Reggie Wayne is still there, and with Andrew Luck, poised to throwing 4,500 yards, he's going to get a lot of yards and a lot of catches. Sammy Watkins, the rookie out of Buffalo, he hasn't played good in preseason, but he's been lighting it up in practice apparently. So, and I've talked about Sammy Watkins earlier. He's an immediate impact player. He's the #1 in Buffalo. He's the only one that's going to be getting anything in Buffalo because they don't have nobody else. So. Yeah, that's a #1 receiver right there.
Yeah, and he's the guy. It's between Brandon Cooks and Sammy Watkins for me. And since Sammy Watkins is an obvious #1 wide receiver, I'm going to pick Sammy Watkins.
Good choice. Now we let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room right now. Ray Rice. This is a guy that's only suspended for 2 games, and it looks like a lot of people haven't forgiven him because of the whole domestic situation.
Yeah.
But this is a guy that just a couple of years ago also was considered a #1 option. Do you take a risk now, in the 10th round, 9th round, whatever it is, 11th round, Do you take a chance in him? I mean, I think that at this point you should, especially if you need running back help, right?
I would. I've been staying away from him just because I'm not sure how Baltimore is going to use him. Because it just seems like Bernard Pierce is just been getting the majority of the love from the coaches. It just seems like I don't know. I don't know what it is with Ray Rice that for some reason he just doesn't seem to be getting the love. But I actually like Steven Jackson over him right now at this pick, even though Ray Rice is there. But he's going to be sharing so many carries with Bernard Pierce. Steven Jackson is not going to share that many carries with Jacquizz Rodgers in Atlanta. Steven Jackson will be getting those carries along with the goal line carries.
I could definitely see that. I think, again, we're talking about the hoarding. If you have a good set of running backs, this is somebody that is a potential, great player. I mean, in 2 games only, it's not like he's missing a lot of the season. It's just missing 2 games. And we've seen even number 1 picks have 2 bad games. So it's not like a lot of people panic after week 3 a lot of times. And if all of a sudden you have somebody that has a number 1 pick, like let's say a Giovanni Bernard doesn't pan out as well as everybody thought. Ray Rice comes back in the 3rd game and he does good. Let's say 100 yards rushing with 5 catches, 50 yards, and 2 touchdowns. All of a sudden you're going to have somebody willing to trade Bernard for Ray Rice right away. So I think it's good to hoard a guy like Ray Rice. He's still a name, and if Baltimore uses him as they have in the past, he's definitely worth the pick.
Exactly. And there's a lot of, look at these running backs. From what I'm seeing here, Pierre Thomas is there. They have Darren Sproles is still there. There's some guys in there. Andre Williams for the Giants, who's one of my sleeper favorites right now. That guy has been lighting it up in preseason, and he's going to be a beast. He might overtake Rashad Jennings for that starting position. Because that guy, he might be the goal line back, I believe, when it comes to that. He's just a big dude.
Steven really got taken right in front of me. I actually would have taken him. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna take Ray Rice here because I really have a team that's already stacked, and I have a lot of running backs that I can use as trade bait. Like I said, picking Ray Rice here is not gonna hurt me at all. I probably do need some receivers. I'm going to be looking to trade for receivers at this point, even though it's not like it's a dire need. I am going to take the best receiver left at this point, which is Cecil Shorts. A lot of people never trust him. He always has potential, but they never trust him. I think with Blackman just, not figuring it out still, I think Cecil Shorts, if healthy, is still going to be contributing a lot more. And I definitely think with Bortles, he'd probably be a good pick.
Yeah, and I still see Tavon Austin there. I still see Anquan Bolden, Riley Cooper, Justin Hunter, who's expected to have a great season for Tennessee. Danny Amendola still is on there for New England, but he has the concussion problem, so you got to be careful with him. Hakeem Nicks coming off an injury for Indianapolis, just sitting there. There's a lot of great players still there. Mike Williams. Greg Jennings is in there.
Greg Jennings is still there.
Yep. There's a lot of good receivers. Even for it's just unbelievable. These players are still available, and even defenses. There's some still top defenses. Denver's supposed to be a top defense. They're still in there, even though I don't think they're going to be. New Orleans, who obviously on Yahoo they have them rated a lot lower than I anticipate them to be. So New Orleans is actually one of my favorite defenses this year, along with Chicago, to step it up from last year, which they ended up, they were stinking it up last year. So at this position, even though all these other defenses are ranked ahead, I'm going to actually go ahead and pick Chicago this time for defense because I think, like I said, they're going to step it up this year. Either that or New Orleans. I think I like New Orleans over Chicago, though, this year for defense, just because they got that kid Brandon Cooks returning kicks, too.
Yeah. I agree with you in Denver. Denver did a lot to try to improve their defense. They hired some names. Obviously, they got DeMarcus Ware and Aqib Talib. So you would think, these were 2 players that were leaders of the defense just a year ago. Obviously, New England's defense didn't look anywhere near the same once he went down, Aqib Talib. And the Cowboys, DeMarcus Ware was always in the middle of everything. They had to use
Mm-hmm.
three people to stop him. So they haven't slowed down. Obviously, so you might have some injury concerns, but it's not like you're getting players that are way past their prime. They're still very good players, and I think that just them two, especially on the line, defensive line, and then you have it on the backside, should make that defense greatly improved.
Yep.
So I agree. Denver's a sleeper pick at this point because a lot of people will probably feel, you know what, they didn't do good last year, so forget them this year.
Now here's a time where you gotta look at your stuff, and I obviously need to draft another wide receiver here. A lot of times, if I have extra picks, I will pick two defenses. So, but you know, being this is only a 15-pick draft, I'm gonna go with a wide receiver here, and I'm gonna actually take Anquan Bolden at this spot because he's available. So, I mean, he's good to get you 100 yards every now and then, and so, you know, given the matchup, whatever, you know, I like Bolden at that spot.
Let's talk about Hakeem Nicks a little bit because he has been falling a lot. Now, T.Y. Hilton, I thought for sure was going to be the main guy, but it's starting to look like they really are going to have Hakeem Nicks on the outside and kind of have T.Y. just floating around.
T.Y. Hilton's more of your slot receiver.
Slot?
Yeah, that's why.
I mean, do you think potentially that would mean that Hakeem Nicks is going to be seeing a lot? I mean, that looks like as long as Reggie Wayne is there, maybe it's going to be, you know, Reggie Wayne and T.Y. getting the bulk of the you know, targets. But if Reggie Wayne is hurt, I mean, man, Hakeem Nicks is going to be your number one receiver in a regard because he's going to be the deep threat, not the deep threat that T.Y. Hilton is, you know, from the slot. But I mean,
yeah.
As far as a possession receiver, he's going to be like a Pierre Garçon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who do they have? They have what? Reggie Wayne, Hakeem Nicks, T.Y. Hilton. They have Brazil, right? Along with Dante Moncrief, the rookie. I mean, they're pretty stacked at wide receiver, so I can see why they'll probably put T.Y. Hilton and Hakeem Nicks on the outside till Reggie Wayne gets healthy, because I don't think Reggie Wayne's going to play right away, is he? And even if he did,
I'm not sure.
And even if he did, you know he's going to always be on the outside. So that's probably why they put T.Y. Hilton in the middle. They can't. It's hard to cover that kind of speed. So putting him in the slot is probably why, you know, pushing Hakeem Nicks, and that's Hakeem Nicks' natural position is outside.
I went ahead and got my defense, and I'm going to go ahead and which is Denver, which is not too bad considering how long I've waited for defense. And as far as receivers go here, you know, I'm thinking Hakeem Nicks. I mean, it's not like I really need them, or Greg Jennings. Both of them have good potential. I'm going to go ahead and pick Jennings, though, just because I know for a fact that he's going to be playing every snap. So at that point, I'm looking more as a potential to still be good.
Yep. I'm looking at kickers at this point. I have it's my last pick coming up, so I'm definitely going to go with a kicker.
Oh, actually, I should have got a kicker. I didn't even realize it was the last pick. I forgot that it was my that's coming back down this way. So instead of Greg Jennings, I probably instead of Greg Jennings, everybody, I probably would have picked a kicker, and it probably would have been Novak. But you know what? Even though I didn't get a kicker, it's not like I'm going to be panicking because, like I said, I could drop anybody to get a kicker. I'm not going to be.
For kickers, I go for kickers with legs, because that'll give me the most points when they do kick. Yeah, like Jay Feely. I don't know why he's in there. He's not even on Arizona. He got cut. Blair Walsh is the guy I'm looking at for Minnesota, and it's my turn to draft. So.
Did you get Walsh? You know who's a sleeper kicker that a lot of people are forgetting about is Nick Folk. Nick Folk doesn't miss, and the Jets. I mean, I know I'm a Jets fan, but they just don't score touchdowns, and I just don't trust Geno Smith since they picked him over Michael Vick. Mm-hmm. He might be able to get into the red zone, and that means Nick Folk's going to be getting a lot of points.
All right, the draft's complete.
The draft is complete. I love my team. I mean, this is now that you drafted your fantasy
advertisement.
Yep.
I had to click off of that real quick. Oh, it makes you do a little advertisement out there. I don't like that part, but this is definitely the draft here. Let me see if we have all the teams and the results. No, not yet. Doesn't let me see your team, so you can tell them who your team is.
I could see.
But I can tell you mine at least, to start you off. My starters, obviously Drew Brees at quarterback, Des Bryant, Torrey Smith, Mike Wallace, Alfred Morris, Ryan Matthews, with C.J. Spiller and probably in my flex. Vernon Davis at tight end, kickers Blair Walsh, defense New Orleans. I also have Phillip Rivers to back up Drew Brees, along with Dennis Pitta to back up Vernon Davis, and Sammy Watkins at the wide receiver spot, along with Anquan Bolden and Steven Jackson. So,
yeah, I see. I can actually see your team. My team, my starters have Andrew Luck at quarterback, who's probably the 5th best quarterback right now. Antonio Brown, wide receiver. Andre Johnson, wide receiver. Larry Fitzgerald, wide receiver. The only thing about my wide receiver core, aside from Antonio Brown, is maybe some injuries with Larry Fitzgerald. He does have a bad hamstring, which always is problematic every year. But still, high ceiling for my receiving core. Running backs, I got LaShawn McCoy, Giovanni Bernard, and probably Doug Martin would be my flex receiver. And even my backup running backs, though, Sankey, Richardson, and then if Ray Rice does come back anywhere near what he was, wow. I mean, that's a stacked bench, in my opinion. Tight end, I'm weak. I got Reed. Reed is a player that was doing real good until he got hurt. We don't know if he's going to be the same. It's certainly worth the risk to pick him, I guess, at that point. No kicker, which I'll pick him up if I had this team for real. Denver is my defense, but with my bench, with the running backs I mentioned, I have Tony Romo, Cecil Shorts, and Greg Jennings. If I do drop anybody, it'll probably be Jennings for a kicker, and then maybe try to swing one of these running backs for a tight end or a defense even. I mean, that's how stacked my team is, in my opinion.
Yeah. So it's looking good. All right. Well, we'll come back with a mock draft 2.0. Hopefully we can get it started faster than we could this time, because it's a little hard to put it into the program and get it started with the draft the way it kind of loads up on Yahoo. So hopefully the next time it just loads up right away, and we can be able to just draft for you from the beginning and talk from the beginning. But with Siggy Guns and JT Magnum for the first mock draft, we out. Stay tuned for the next one. Peace.